Good afternoon, baseball fans, and welcome to episode 48 of season 2 with Sports Talk with Rags. And today, here we are joined here by Topher Ellis. Grew up in Virginia Beach, first Colonial alum. Topher, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Great. Happy to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Sure, no problem. And hey, let's start there at the beginning. So before we started, I shared that my brother and I grew up in Western Branch. I see that you're a First Colonial alum, so definitely in the '90s, big baseball rivalry between Western Branch and First Colonial, and First Colonial had success there when you were going through the program there in '04 through '06.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, bear with me. I got a plane flying over. My office is pretty much wherever I can hook up the computer or the phone. But uh, yeah, I mean, growing up in Hampton Roads, as I'm sure you're well aware, is been a major asset to me in my career in baseball. And my story isn't much different than some of the guys that you hear about more often. The David Wrights and the Mark Reynolds and the Kadires, in terms of having some really excellent coaches and parents that were involved at a very young age to help me build that passion for the sport. And to take it a step further into high school and getting the chance to play for one of the legendary coaches in our area, in Norby Wilson, was a huge I guess milestone for me and turning point in my career, to where I started taking things a lot more serious, and realized that I wanted to play it at the next level. And right about that same time, while I was at First Colonial as a freshman, uh, a guy by the name of David Winfrey, Day Day as he's referred to around here, was a senior, and my older brother was also a senior there. So I had some older guys that were around me and helped to shape what my career would end up looking like, just simply by giving me some attention. And Day Day told me as a young freshman out on the varsity field, he said, Topher, you've got some good skills, but listen, if you want to take your game to the next level, you're going to have to get in the weight room. As a 5'7", 5'9" in high heels type of ball player, I was going to have to create an edge in some way. And that's when Dede connected me with a guy named Piney Reyes out in Chesapeake, who just so happened to train all of those guys that I listed. I'm reading a book right now, the Miracle of the Splendid Six in Townie Townsend, and all those guys listed in that book trained with the same guy. And so from my freshman year on, that's who I worked with in the weight room 3 days a week, and it made all the difference in terms of getting to the next level and playing in college. So First Colonial was a major part of that for sure, getting to play for Norby Wilson, and then my last 2 years with the current First Colonial head coach, and Scott Stubby.
Yeah, I think, also a connection between Western Branch and First Colonial, First Colonial, Norby Wilson, then Scott Stubby, been there a long time. Over here at Western Branch, Jim Stanko turned the reins over to Roland Wright, so definitely Roland and Scott, have just continued here the long tradition there in high school baseball here in the area at one high school too.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, speaking for the younger generation that's coming through it now, we truly are blessed in this area to have countless coaches that are just phenomenal baseball people, that not only have been through it as a player, but even some of them have brought up their own kids through the process, and or are doing so now. And we're just really lucky to have guys that care about the development of young athletes, and are able to communicate in a way that not a lot of people can do.
Yes. Well, so after high school, I know that you started out in Farmville at Longwood, but hey, tell the listeners about getting an opportunity to play for Carl Lancaster down there at Mount Olive. I mean, just a secret baseball baseball success story there in North Carolina that Carl led for many years.
Yeah, I mean, the pickle capital of the world is also one of the baseball capitals of the world. But none of that would really be possible if it wasn't for my experience in my first 2 years in college at Longwood. Where I was getting to play with a teammate of mine who I had played with in high school, middle school, and then even with the Tidewater Drillers growing up, and Frank Berry, who, after my second year at Longwood, he decided to transfer to another school, and he encouraged me to consider doing the same, as we were in a situation there where there wasn't a whole lot to play for, given that it was the first and second year for Longwood in Division One. So, they weren't in a conference. There was no postseason play unless you got an at-large bid, and you and I know how difficult that is. If you don't get 40 plus wins, you're going home for the summer pretty early. So, I reached out to what I thought was going to be, the top three. Sorry, I got another plane.
No, that's okay. I grew up a Mets fan, so it's like being in Shea Stadium.
So I actually, this is kind of a funny story, but after my sophomore year at Longwood, I was in Johnson City, Tennessee, playing for the Johnson City Cardinals, or Johnson City Tennessee Tornadoes. We played at the Johnson City Cardinals single A affiliate stadium while we were there, and while I was there, I was talking to some of the other players on our team who were from all over the country, and we were like, where do you think I should go? Where should I look? And somebody was like, well, why don't you just type in the ranking, Google it and look for the top schools in the country at the lower levels. So I came across the D2, top 25 list, and Mount Olive was right there at the top, just finished winning a national championship a couple days before this happened. And so I clicked on the school, having known nothing about it at that point. And so I went to their baseball website. I found, Carl Lancaster CL's email address and Coach Watt's email address, who's now the head coach there. And I just sent him a cold email. I said, hey, I'm playing at Longwood University now. I've played here for 2 years as a starter. I've had some success. I'm not where I want to be or where I think I could be. And to be honest, CL emailed me back. I probably emailed him at 11 o'clock at night, 2 or 3 days after they won the national championship. He emailed me back at 6:30 in the morning the next day and said, hey man, come on down here and meet with us, and we'll see if we can't make a match. And, one of the interesting things about the baseball world is how small it is, despite the fact that it's massive. And in that email that I sent to him, I had mentioned that I played for Norby Wilson, not knowing whether that would help me in any way or not. And it turns out that there was some kind of weird connection where maybe it was Norby's wife's family was actually who the ball field was named after. And so that was an awesome connection that kind of gave me the foot in the door to then go down there and have CL and Coach Watt say, listen, you can come here and play or come here and be on the team. You're probably not going to have a good chance of playing because we're really good and really deep. But if you're willing to take on that level of competition, then let's do it. And really the rest is history. I mean, those were the two most exciting and greatest years of my life, and probably hardest years of my life too, and with the training aspect of it.
Yes. I mean, the funny thing is, before my wife and I, we got to know Kyle Butler and his brother, Connor, and their parents, with just how it kind of worked out. I mean, it's funny that you bring up that workout down there at Mount Olive, because I remember another way that baseball is small. Down at Mount Olive, my wife Elizabeth, her cousin's son, Carter, was teammates of yours, and I remember Carter's parents talking about just the workout regime down there at Mount Olive. It definitely wasn't easy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, talking about Carter is kind of a fun story because, me coming in as a junior when he was a freshman at the time, so my first year was also his first year at the school, and we were both catchers.
Right.
You look at this big 6'4", whatever, maybe taller, kid with shoulders from from one side of the field to the other. I mean, he was massive, and you take a kid with that kind of projectability. Probably, I don't know if he ever touched a baseball on the mound before,
Right.
but during that fall, CL said, "Hey Carter, you want to give pitching a shot?" And I feel like he got on the rubber and never looked back. I mean,
Right.
he was throwing flames right out of the gate, and then just from there, talk about the training, talk about the work ethic that Carter and a lot of the players at Mount Olive possessed. It's not surprising that he made it to where he did, because if there was somebody at the field early, it was him. If there was somebody there late, it was him. If there was somebody at the gym when nobody else was, it was him. And that's it's obviously a tribute to him, but that's where you get when you have that kind of work ethic matched with the talent, and then obviously the physical stature.
Right. Well, hey, so after Mount Olive, then I see that you got into the coaching, with Mary Washington, getting into the college coaching. You even with coming back home, even had a stint with being an assistant there at Virginia Wesleyan.
Yep. So again, with the world, or baseball world, being extremely tiny, I came back after graduation, and I thought I knew what I wanted to do. My background academically was exercise science, and I liked the training aspect of sports, and how it can really elevate the sport specific skills, not just in baseball but any sport. And so I got all of my certifications that are required in order to pursue that as a career. I moved back here. I started personal training at a local, I don't know, Planet Fitness or Anytime Fitness or something like that, and was doing that daily. I also got a second job at MacArthur Mall in Norfolk, where I was working at a candy store selling pralines. And how it all kind of happened was I got a phone call from Carl Lancaster's son, oldest son, Jesse Lancaster,
Right.
who's a really good friend of mine, was even in my wedding.
Oh, cool.
Who had reached out and said, "Hey, like, would you be interested in coaching at the next level? My dad's got a coaching colleague that just accepted a position in Virginia at the University of Mary Washington, and we can connect you." So I remember sitting at Why Not Pizza in Virginia Beach with my grandmother, actually, and saying, "Oh my gosh, like, this is an amazing opportunity. I need to make this happen." And a couple days later, I drove up to UMW. I interviewed with Coach, and then a couple days later, I had packed all my stuff up in Virginia Beach and moved up to Fredericksburg. And so that was a giant leap of faith kind of into the world of coaching. And at the college level, it's definitely special. It's not everybody gets to do it. And I had 4 amazing years doing that up there. We had a lot of success really quickly there, and got to work with some amazing players, some players that ended up getting a taste of professional baseball, even from a Division III school. It's also where I met my wife, who actually got hired as an athletic trainer there about midway through my 4 years. And we kind of hit it off right away and started to explore some other options as far as different places that I might be able to become a head coach or have a better financial situation as an assistant. And that job search was very difficult. I mean, I probably applied to 50 plus schools and interviewed for phone interviews for 8 and in-person interviews for 4, and one or two offers from there. But what I realized is that I didn't want to move to Indiana to explore my potential career in coaching at the college level. So what we ended up doing is moving back to my hometown of Virginia Beach. My wife is in the medical field, so it was much easier for her to find a job than it was for me. But I moved back to Virginia Beach in I guess it was the summer of 2016. Started a small business, my first small business, which was basically strength and conditioning for youth athletes, and did that for about a year before this whole coastal thing started.
Yeah. So let's see, and a little side note and a little Western branch to First Colonial connection. I also saw that during a Tidewater Summer League, you got the opportunity to Coach Selby.
I did. Colby,
Coach
yeah.
Collar. Yes.
So there were a couple players on that team, and then the names elude me just because it's been a few years and my memory's not great. But Colby, I remember as one in particular who was actually on a rehab assignment at that time, where I was in constant communication with CJ Rhodes, who is now over at VCU, but really great dude, a Virginia Wesleyan grad. But he and I had discussed at length what the expectations were for Colby that summer with the Tidewater Hawks, and it was tough because he was a fiery kid who really just wanted to get on the mound and throw, and he begged and begged and begged to throw more than 40 pitches, but that was his cap. So even towards the latter end of the summer, when he was back up close to 90, if not above 90, we had to shut him down. Didn't matter if we were in the playoffs or not. But really cool to see him a few years later, get a chance, get an opportunity, and be healthy, and now he's playing professionally. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and so just talk about here the the opportunity with your business here with Coastal. I know it's in Norfolk, but you grew up in Virginia Beach, and just being around area baseball, and it's just just a great opportunity here right in the middle of a baseball hotbed.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider myself very fortunate in that we kind of had the right flurry of connections that came together at the right time or at the same time that allowed us to find the building that we did, and then be able to kind of piece together ownership and funding and really the right group of instructors to be able to put something like this together. My goal has always been to provide the same, if not more, resources for training than myself and my teammates had when we were their age. So, and that's hard to do in this area because there are so many things and so many people that are out there to help. And, there's always room for another one. There's always room for, more coaches and more facilities and all that. And I think it's just a really good thing. And it's been a great experience for me over the last 5 years. It's actually, we've been open for 5 years this week. So just a fun fact for you. But, obviously with any business, there's been ups and downs and learning curves to overcome. And we've certainly had our fair share of the highs and lows, but, still going strong and trying to forge relationships with as many athletes and their families as we possibly can, just to kind of share and spread that passion for baseball and softball and sports in general, because the impact that as cheesy as it sounds, the impact that youth sports can have on kids will most definitely last a lifetime.
Right. And what I've seen is with knowing Kyle, Jordan, and Eric personally, you also reach out to, kids that are done with college, both baseball and softball, have them continue to stay in the game by teaching the next generation, and I see that there's also some softball instructors.
Yes, sir. So, one thing that I learned from my former boss, the head coach at UMW when I was there, his name is Wayne Reiser. One thing I learned from him was that, being a head coach, being a manager is not just about, coaching your kids. It's also about coaching your coaches and trying to help everybody kind of develop as one. And so it may not always seem like it, but that's certainly one of my roles with Coastal is, managing people, providing customer service, trying to help the coaches that we have establish themselves, as reputable coaches to come to and get instruction and just be that shoulder for them to lean on if they need anything and if they need help, on their path. And I never intended for Coastal to be the platform for instructors to build themselves and then springboard them to something bigger and better. But it's kind of an exciting thing that we've seen so far where, I don't know if you know the name Paul Hall Jr., but,
Yeah.
He's a Maury product and
Right.
played at Virginia Tech. And, now he's working. He spent a little bit of time working with us as an instructor and now he works for Tread Athletics down in Charlotte and has a big time gig down there. And we're proud of him, and we're proud of all the instructors that have come through our facility and made their next step in their career. But, making the connections with kids that have gone through the college ranks, finished their careers, finished their academics, some are exploring careers in fields outside of sports, but others, have taken a dive head first right into making coaching their career, and that's exciting. I'm happy to be able to help in any way I can for somebody to be able to wake up every day and say, hey, I coach for a living. I mean, it's definitely special.
Yes, and is Coastal, are there, travel teams, and then with the older groups, the showcase teams that you're involved with coming out of your place there in Norfolk?
There is. So one of the things that we've prided ourselves on since we opened is being open and available and welcoming to athletes of all ages, all skill levels, every different organization, every different school affiliation. To us, it doesn't matter if you want to get better, you want a place to train. That's what we want to do. And it wasn't until year 4, so last year, that we really decided that there was also room for improvement and growth in the team aspect, in the showcase team aspect, which I'm not really a big fan of all those fancy words and stuff like that. Really, it's just a group of teams and players that all have a common goal of getting to the next level, that being college or even professionally. But that's what it's all about for us with those teams, is just trying to educate the players and parents on what the process looks like, recruiting process, things to do, things not to do, things to look out for, questions to ask, what to expect. Really just try to be a soundboard for any questions that they have, and hopefully help them to get to, what I was fortunate enough to get to, which is to play college baseball and then make it a career. So, we've been very fortunate so far with the teams that we've had and the players that we've had to have been successful in doing that, even though it's been a short period of time. Our first graduating class for Team Coastal was the 2022 class, which consisted of 4 players. All 4 players are playing in college. Our current grad class 2023 has I believe is 13 kids. Currently 10 of them are committed to playing college. With the remaining 3, we're just trying to help find the right fit, but I believe all 13 of those boys will end up having the opportunity to play at the next level, which, that's secretively, that's a goal of mine. It's just to give every kid that goes through our program from start to finish the opportunity to play if they choose to, at the next level.
Right. Yes. And, just how the game and recruiting has changed. I mean, from 2014 to 2018, where I work at, it worked out in my schedule that I could announce and, help Roland out there with the varsity program there at Western Branch. And, the first couple years, everybody was just getting to know me. But then, like in 2017, 2018, some of the younger group that was coming up right from middle school, they were like, "Oh, Mr. Ragsdale, can you sign my kid there for Perfect Games, or for all these different websites and with recruiting services?" And I was like, you know what, my wife and I, we don't have any kids, and when my brother got recruited, there was none of these. So I just, sent an email to some of the coaches, that played against my brother and look about camps. I mean, just nowadays, just to play at the next level and video and analytics. I mean, just the game's changed.
Yeah, I mean, there's the list is long with the differences between when you and I came through and when with what these boys are dealing with now. I'm not sure I would have made it very far with the emergence of the cell phone and social media and all that stuff. I mean, personally, I think I'm a little too sensitive to have been able to deal with all of the criticism and judgment that kids get these days for various posts and things like that. But I think I speak for a lot of people out there in saying that in a lot of ways the recruiting system is broken, and there's a lot of misconceptions and there's a lot of mistakes and problems with it, particularly with kids committing, making decisions as early as freshman, 8th grade, and 7th grade. I'm sure there's a 4th grader out there that's committed somewhere, but it's just sad to see, because really there's no benefit to the player or the family other than to be able to say, hey, this is the school that I'm going to, and whatever accolade comes with that, whatever confidence booster that serves as, it doesn't really provide any benefit. I will say, if you have a dream school and you've known your whole life, that's where mom and dad went, or that's my favorite team, and that's where I want to go, and then all of a sudden you're an 8th grader and that opportunity presents itself, sure, that would be a situation where I would understand where somebody would commit that early. But at the same time, you've got to understand it doesn't matter whether you commit as a 6th grader or as a senior in your spring season. You have to continue working, both academically, athletically, and just on your personal, to be able to fulfill that dream, fulfill that commitment that you made. That's the only way it happens. And a lot of kids, even locally, have learned the hard way that commitment really didn't mean a whole lot to the college. And it's unfortunate, but ultimately it'll make those kids stronger and tougher, and it'll be a positive. But I wish that there was a way for us to fix the system, and I don't necessarily know if there's a quick fix, but with the emergence of the transfer portal and now the prevalence of kids just bouncing around and going somewhere and having failure or having any level of obstacle to overcome and then just leave. Like, I think that's a major problem that who knows how it's going to turn out or what it's going to look like 5 years from now. But for kids that are in high school now, they're having to navigate that with little to no assistance other than the thousands of dollars that are being asked to get spent on companies like the NCSA or those types of companies that are basically saying, we'll help you get a scholarship and this and that. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, it really just comes down to the kid and how much he's willing to sacrifice to get to where he wants to go.
Yes. Well, hey, Topher, I certainly appreciate your time, and any final thoughts here with the baseball, softball players that are that are out there. I mean, I know that Coastal Sports Center, 1324 Ballantyne Boulevard, there in Norfolk, and just waiting to teach any kid that wants to get better in baseball or softball. So, any other final thoughts?
Well, I just want to thank you for taking the time and for doing what you do, kind of spreading the love for baseball. It's much appreciated and much needed in the world that we live in now. And, for everybody listening out there, that if you haven't been to Coastal, come check us out. Happy to help, happy to answer any questions. And for the kids out there that are pursuing their dreams, keep on doing it. Don't let anybody tell you can't make it.
Right. Well, hey, fans, certainly appreciate Topher's time, and that's a wrap here for today's episode. So, thanks again, Topher.
Thanks, Mark. Take care.
See you.